Before you step into the next patch, Bloodshake Harbor, there's two important things I need to tell you about today about bosses in the future. One of them is that they're gonna have high health regeneration, and the only way to stop that is to apply bleed onto the enemy to stop their combat health regeneration. You can see that when you apply bleed onto the enemy, each stack of this will do a minus 20 combat health regeneration per stack on the boss, and by applying 5 stacks, you're able to stop 100% of the enemy combat health regeneration, which is extremely important moving on to the next patch. Moving on forward, a lot of boss is going to have high HP regeneration. I think it is mentioned that something like Hey Mujin, which is going to be the upcoming Bloodshake Harbor boss, have 11,000 HP regeneration per second, which means that if you don't consistently apply 5 stacks of bleed, the enemy will regenerate 11,000 HP per second, which means that's how much your team is going to lose in a second. If you're not hitting the DPS timer, if you're hitting the enrage timer in your party dungeon, this could be one of the biggest factors of why you're not able to pass the DPS check, so be sure to consistently apply bleed in your party. Before we start, I just want to quickly remind people that I regularly stream over on Twitch, as well as I've recently started a brand new looking for group Discord for people to hang out and look for new party in the new patch for like Bloodshake Harbor and stuff like that, so be sure to check that out. Every single class have some sort of access to bleed, but it might not be convenient to do and you might have to spec specifically into it. Blade Masters, for example, have Scarlet Breeze, which is the left click, and there's a bleed here. Kung Fu Masters have one of the easiest access to bleed. It's on Bloodstrike, which is right here on your left click as well. Force Masters have bleed on Dual Dragon. If you go into the green tree, there's 1 bleed, blue tree, and then the final purple tree have 5 bleed. Destroyer have a bleed on your left click Judgment. If you go on to the Judgment tree, there's a bleed here, and I think if you're using Destroyer as a disc build, you can get 5 bleed pretty easy, pretty consistently. I think Assassins have one of the hardest time of stacking bleed since their class is built on poison. I know there's a bleed on Shuriken right here, but you have to go all the way down to purple skills before you can get it. And I think there's another bleed somewhere, but I forgot. Oh, I think like Link Crash. But obviously this bleed is not very good since you usually want to get the focus recovery from damage bonus or AoE if you're playing the hard stat build. Summoners have one of the easiest access to bleed if you're built for it. Rumblebee can stack bleed very easily, very consistently, so if you're playing a Rumblebee summoners, this is a very good bleed build. Otherwise, the Scratch also instantly apply 5x bleed right here, so be sure to take the skills. Blade Dancers, finally, of course, we have the LMB right here to get bleed on. And if you're playing Flickers, then is the bleed on the purple as well. These is not an exclusive list, it's just the one I kind of know off my head. For example, Blade Dancers have 1 stack of bleed on their left click, so they can easily stack up 5 stacks of bleed this way. And most importantly is that every single time you apply a bleed, it will completely refresh the entire status, so you just have to consistently apply 1 every 10 seconds after the initial 5 stack of bleed. One of the biggest advantage of using a Blade Dancer is that once you have solved your focus issues by going your blue build with your blue ray or Wind Day Dancers, you can actually go into the bleed tree for your Soaring Falcon to keep bleed up. This is because this is the range attack and it apply bleed, so after you initially apply your 5 stack of bleed, you can keep this up a lot easier. Even if the enemy move away, you can just like toss your rolling or Soaring Falcon and you keep up the bleed that way. So even if the enemy move away, you can still keep up the bleed, and it's very useful to have. And of course, the other big thing with Blade Dancers is that you can do a bleed animation cancels. So by doing a left click before you do your wind charge, you can immediately cancel it and stack bleed that way. This is the same with a lot of your other skills, like your wind slash here. So you can do a left click, wind slash, and you can get bleed that way. You can also do a bleed here before your final rolling typhoons. The other good timing for a bleed is going to be for your 6 seconds wind charge. So when you hit 6 seconds wind charge, there is a final 1 wind server. So you do 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, and then there's a final 1 here. You can fit in a bleed before the final rolling typhoon. So I'll show you on the 6 second wind charge on the white wind. So I can do bleed 1 2 3, 1 2 3. And then right here, I'm going to do a left click before I finish the final rolling typhoon to stack another bleed. Making sure that your party is consistently stacking up 5 stacks of bleed is going to be one of the biggest difference maker moving forward in the new patch. This is going to be one of the biggest reasons why party fail DPS check is because they fail to stack bleed properly, so make sure that in your party you have a proper bleed applier. Let's talk about the next topic, which is defense. Enemy in this game have a certain level of base defense, and it basically reduces your damage output. This is the reason why when you go hit the training dummy in the motion tower, you'll find that you do a lot of damage, and then when you go hit an actual enemy, you see that your damage number is a lot lower. This is because actual enemy have defense, and therefore it reduces your actual damage output. As we step into the next patch, enemy is gonna have higher and higher defenses, and so the piercing requirement on these bosses is also gonna slowly start to increase, and it's one of the things to watch out for. It is actually mentioned by a Chinese player that on their latest Chinese raid, the Queen's Dungeon, there's a very high piercing requirement. You need almost like 4,000 piercing and stuff and higher and stuff like that. Now I know what a lot of you are thinking. You might have heard a lot of people say that you don't need to build piercing, it doesn't do anything, especially from old BNS players. But the thing is that you always had to build piercing in the old game, it just automatically came with every single one of your accessories. That's why you don't have to build it specifically. So the way it worked in the original BNS is that every single accessories came with a set stat, so by default you will have a specific amount of accuracy and piercing built into your game, so you never had to specifically look for it, and you just basically build crit on every single thing that you could build crit. However, the thing with BNS Neo is that the stat is not set, the stat is random. A lot of people are really concentrated on going on crit, and as a result, they actually miss out on other stats like piercing as well as accuracy, meaning that they actually end up lacking these two stats because the game don't build it for you anymore. So these are the two stats that people are often going to lack coming into the next patch, and it's very important to watch out for. Right, this is one of the reasons why 8-piece Dungeon Social give crit rate, accuracy, as well as piercing, because every single one of these stats are relevant, but because at the current moment, people are not really prioritizing piercings or accuracies, and we're not really going for the 8-piece Social, you really should be careful on these two stats going into the next patch, and it's something to watch out for. If you're lacking piercing, you could get it from the exchange merchant. You do the primers, the same go with accuracy. So the primers do have as piercing primers as well as accuracy primers. So these are things to hopefully be prepared for the next patch. For the same reason, I think people undervalue accuracy and piercings on their accessories because they're so over-focused on getting crit rate, crit damage. But the thing is that you can just get accuracy, crit damage on your accessories, and they're so ridiculously cheap. Like for example, this one, 3 slot accuracy, crit damage. Nobody is buying this for 50, but this is really cheap. And of course, you do lack crit rate, but then you can just build crit rate onto your social primer and get crit rate that way. It is a lot better than having to realize your accuracy is actually not enough at the very end, and then you end up building accuracy primer, which I actually end up preparing some just in case I'm lacking accuracy for the next patch. This is where defense down come in. On certain skills like Blade Master Searing Slash, you can see that it decreases the opponent defense. This is especially relevant on the hammer for the summoners. For Summoner, their strike skills has a defense reduction skills that allow you to reduce the enemy defense by 30%. Assuming you don't build too much piercing, at the current moment a 30% defense down is a 5% damage increase against the current enemy, and this number will continue to go up as the enemy in the future have higher and higher defense. This means that if the summoner in your party is not trolling and they're able to consistently get the defense down buff on, your entire party will be doing a 5% damage increase compared to without a summoner. In a party with a summoner who can able to keep up the buff consistently 100% of the time, your summoner only needs to do 75% of the team damage in order to make your team go even on damage, and so anything else is a gain. Assuming they're at blue books with equal gear. Of course, starting from purple sunflower book, because purple sunflower can get away without using some of the focus skills, they can start applying poison a lot more reliably with stuff like your lunge, which is your tap skills. You can go the poison lunge right here, purple. But because it is not until you get to purple skills that give you the access to all the easy poison skills, it's a lot easier to just do a Hornet Summoner to apply poison with your left click than to find a Sunflower Summoner who can also consistently keep up the poison. Before we go into the next patch, I think these are something really important to start to understand as we face higher level bosses and more challenging bosses. I personally don't actually know the piercing and accuracy requirement for the next patch, and it will start to help when you're higher level than them because there's a level penalty. So Heimujin is going to be level 51, and before you're level 51 or level 52, unless you have very high accuracy or even piercings, your damage is going to significantly be reduced against them, and I actually don't recommend challenging Heimujin on the very first day until you get a little bit off level, or you brute force it with way higher stats. So with that being said, I have heard that you need upward of like 2,000 piercing and 1,000 accuracy from Korean player. I personally do not know if that's true, and I don't have any way to confirm it other than to test it out after the patch. So I don't want to put any numbers out there, but I do know that a lot of people probably don't have these stats prepared, so this will be a good start to talk about them. So with that being said, as always, subscribe, I guess. Thanks for watching. If you're looking for a cold storage group, again, I do have a Discord that you can join. Link will be in the description below. Bye bye.